Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am here to recap Sister Wives episode 8 to Cliques. I don't want this to be too long of a recap because the episode, half of it was just us seeing them celebrate their Thanksgiving separately, and the other half of the episode was just the same conversations we've been having this whole season, basically these past few episodes. The Cody rules, who wants to follow them, who doesn't, and it just feels kind of repetitive and redundant, and there's only so much I can dissect of these conversations and pull out of it. It's just like there's just really not much more to say. I think we know how everybody feels, we know where everybody stands, but nonetheless we're gonna recap this episode, so let's jump into it. So let's talk about Christine and Janelle's meetup. It's a few days since Janelle, the conversation they had, and Janelle sort of just like walked off and told Cody he could shove it where the sun don't shine. So Christine wants to reach out to Janelle and check on her and see how she's doing, because she just feels like Janelle needs a lot of support right now. She could see the stress and pressure that Janelle is under and the strain that is put on Janelle and Cody's marriage. So she invites Janelle over, and Janelle goes over and she tells Christine that, yeah, I'm sorry I had to just walk away from that conversation, but I was overwhelmed. I was literally at a loss for words. I didn't appreciate being talked to like a child. Cody implying that I'm irresponsible, that I don't see the whole picture, that I don't care. I just couldn't take it. And Christine is just like, yeah, in total agreement with everything that Janelle is saying. And Janelle says, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Janelle says that this is a benefit of having a sister wife, is because you can get together sometimes with them and commiserate over the bullshit your husband is putting you through, such as a time like this. I'm sorry, I just got off of work, but I want to get this recap. Okay, so anyway, the topic of the Cody rules comes up yet again, and Christine says that she sent the list to Aspen, and Aspen got back to Christine practically in tears, telling her, there's no way I can follow all of this, which means I won't be able to get together with everybody for Christmas. So can you at least come and spend Thanksgiving with me and my other siblings? And Christine said, yeah, I can do that. Because I guess it's not just her, but also her daughters that live with her that would rather go be there for the holiday. And she just says this list is sort of, it's not really fair. It's an imbalance that Cody is asking that Christine and the girls in the house follow these really strict rules, and in return they're only going to get 2 hours a week with Cody. It's just not really worth it. That sounds harsh, but she says that's the truth of it. She reminds us he'll come over late for dinner, he's distracted, he's on his phone. She does say he'll play with Truly, she'll give him that, but then he wakes up, he has a cup of coffee, and he's out, and they won't see him again until the next week. And it's just, they'd rather spend their time living their life and visiting with people who want to visit with them and really give them real quality time. Janelle agrees that if she were to follow these rules too, in terms of getting it together for Thanksgiving, it would mean leaving Garrison and Gabe out in the cold for the holiday, like on their own, even though they're in the same town. Because then we get this Robin confessional intercut saying that when Janelle told Christine that her family wanted to get together with Christine, that really hurt Robin's feelings, and she can only imagine how Cody would feel, and that in a plural family it's a little different because she gets that Janelle and Christine and even Mary have older kids who live far away and live in other states, and of course you want to see them for the holiday, but if they can't come back to be like at the family home, then it's sad, but your place is with your husband and your family who's there with you. And so she's sort of saying that that's where the wives should be, with Cody and everybody, and that someday when her kids move away and if they can't come home for the holiday, yeah, that would be sad, but her place is with Cody. Because what's Cody supposed to do? Where's he supposed to go? He can't be in 10 different places at once. And I'm just wondering, is this really all this, them not, I'm assuming it really just has to do with the panorama and people living far. Would Mariah and Aspen and McKelty and everybody come home to Flagstaff for Thanksgiving? Because we get this flashback of a Thanksgiving past in Las Vegas when they hosted like 85 million people, and it was really great. And it's just, times are different now. And I think also we can't ignore the fact that Christine and Janelle are in not great places with Cody, and maybe they just want to get away from the drama and the stress of it. And it's not like they're leaving Cody home by himself. He's with other wives. So, and not just that, but it's not just kids who are far away. You have kids here living in Flagstaff that aren't going to be invited to the local family get together because they can't follow all the, it's complicated. This navigating these plural marriages and family, it's hard waters to navigate, especially during this whole panorama. So Christine is touched that Janelle's family wants to get together with her family, and it's a little bit of pressure, but she just loves how close of a relationship she has with all the kids. And Janelle says, yeah, well, they're attached to you because you had such a big hand in raising them. But didn't Cody have a big hand in raising them? And I don't know, side note, I don't know if I misunderstood Gabe. Remember when he was asking Janelle, what is Christine going to do for the holiday? Where's she going to go? Where's she going to be? Let's do what she does. I'll do whatever she wants to do. Did that mean that had Christine said she would follow all of Cody's rules so they could get together, then Gabe would have done the same just so that he could be with Christine? Is that what he meant, or no, or did I read that wrong? Because if that's what he meant, it is very interesting what he's willing to do for Christine, but not his dad, or even Christine but not his mom. Like, what if Janelle asked him, I want you to follow these? I think I'm thinking too deep into it. Anyway, both Christine and Janelle want to get together for the holiday, but they have to wait and see till it gets a little closer to that day because they want to see how the numbers are, how people are feeling, if it's really safety. So they're going to sort of circle back and decide when the time comes. I guess we can talk about now Robin letting her kids know what's going to happen for Thanksgiving. So she sits them down and she tells them, and I know I'm not the only one who caught it. She starts by saying, okay, we got together, your dad and all the other moms, about, what we're going to do for Thanksgiving. And she said, your dad came up with a list of rules and protocols that everybody has to follow so that everybody can get together. But, it's really been insinuated this whole time by Cody that Robin and Robin's kids and the nanny, they've been following these rules. So why does it seem, shouldn't she just say, hey, the rules that we've been following have been given to everybody? It just, the way they keep presenting, and I don't think I'm explaining this right, the point I'm trying to make is that it's very clear that these rules did not exist until Cody typed them up the night before they had that meeting when he handed them out. And it just makes me wonder, was Cody just making it up as he went along, telling Christine or whoever, oh, you did this, so I can't come around, and oh, so-and-so did that, so we can't get together, like, so he could just be where he wanted to be with who he wanted to be with? Like, these rules, they really... Was the nanny really followed? Because they should have always, I don't know if I'm explaining it, but it's very obvious that these rules that have been like long standing, they really weren't. They really weren't. Anyway, she tells the kids, your dad came up with this list of rules and Janelle's family's looked at it and they can't really follow them. So they're going to be going to Utah for Thanksgiving. And Robin's older daughter, is she Aurora? I get them, Aurora, Brianna. Aurora's the older one, right? The older daughter asks Robin, okay, are they not able to follow the rules, or they just don't want to? Like, they can't or they won't, which is it? And Robin doesn't know how to answer that because she sees where the question is coming from and she thinks it's a fair question and she doesn't want to lie. And I don't think she should lie, but instead she sort of throws Gabe under the bus and says, well, I don't know. I mean, I know that Gabe has a girlfriend and he has a social life, but I don't really know. And I'm just thinking, I don't know that was the best answer to give because, and I don't even really want to talk about the kids too much because this isn't their fault. Their parents should have had this figured out and they just haven't gotten it together, and now the kids are really suffering. But I feel like Robin telling Aurora, Gabe has a girlfriend and Gabe has a social life, is that creating a tension or a resentment amongst the siblings now? Because now it's really easy for Aurora to look at Gabe and think, oh, well, he's really selfish and he doesn't care. And I just don't think it's that black and white, because then she goes on to tell the kids, same thing with Christine. They've decided to go spend Thanksgiving with Aspen and Mitch and McKelty and Tony and everybody else. And so the daughter, Aurora, I'm sorry, I should know this. She asks Robin, okay, so let me get this straight. Dad finally sets out the list of rules that they should have already known about, so we can all be on the same page and have some common ground. And they're just saying, screw it. Christine doesn't care. And again, it's not, and I feel bad, and I'm not saying that it's the daughter's fault that she doesn't understand everything, but it's a lot more complicated. And maybe, to be fair to Robin, she can't get into all the particulars of what's going on in Dad's marriage to all the other wives and moms and the struggles they're having. And, you know, it's a lot. And I wouldn't suggest that the kids watch this show, but if they do watch the show, maybe they'll get a better understanding of what is really going into all this. It's not just Christine saying she doesn't care, and maybe it's not just Gabe having a girlfriend, but it's Garrison working essentially and he can't follow these lists. And maybe it's Janelle not wanting to wipe down her mail. It's a lot more. It's just a lot more. And Robin's just trying to protect her kids because she doesn't want them to feel rejected, because she feels rejected. But I think everybody feels rejected at this point. Gabe feels rejected that his dad never wants to come around. I'm sure Isabel felt rejected on some level, that her dad wasn't there for her when she had back surgery. Mary been rejected. Janelle, everybody, like nobody's happy about not spending Thanksgiving together. Well, I don't know, because I feel like when you watch this episode, in the end, and we'll get to it, everybody is where they want to be. Everybody is happy where they're at, I think, for the most part, maybe except Cody. But I just think it's a mess. Again, it's like I feel like I'm repeating myself. This whole, it's more complicated in a plural family, these get-togethers, because it's not just 4 kids we're trying to get together. It's like 18 and 4 moms and it's a lot. It's a lot. And the parents should have had it figured out, and they don't. And I feel bad because Aurora's crying. She's saying, I wish we could just get together as a family. I miss them. And I wish they could get together as a family too. It's not an unreasonable thing to want. But I guess the good news is Robin shares that Mary will be coming to spend Thanksgiving with them. And that seems to cheer everybody up. So there is a silver lining. They get Mary. And that's, I don't know. What do you guys, it's a mess. Like right now, this family, it's a mess. And these holidays and trying to figure out, it's not going to be easy. And I don't think it's going to be as simple and as it was in the past. Like it's a different time now. It's not just that everybody's grown up and has husbands and kids and other, it's everything. I'm rambling. Okay, let's move on. So then Mary and Robin meet up at Coyote Pass so they can talk about everything that went down in that conversation when Janelle walked off, and Mary says she just wants to delve a little deeper, and she also wants to apologize to Robin for the jokes she made about them being Robin's rules and not Cody's rules. So Mary apologizes, and Robin says, oh, like, I knew what you meant. I didn't take it, you know, that you were accusing me. She says that she felt like it was Mary's way of standing in solidarity with her. Not that Mary thought these were Robin's rules, but Mary calling out everybody else who was thinking that. And I'm like, no, I think Mary thought these were your rules just as much as anybody else did. I think this was Mary's way of sort of addressing the big pink elephant in the room, as Robin would say. Hey, this is what everybody's thinking. This is what everybody's saying. So let's talk about it. Whose rules are they? I mean, I think she tried to do it in a joking, sort of light-hearted, passive way, but it didn't come off that way at all. And it obviously struck a nerve with Robin, and it really bothered her because now she's telling Mary that she's really frustrated and stressed out because she feels like she's in a monogamous marriage with Cody. And although that's what people might assume she wants, it's not. She signed up to be in a plural family, in a polygamous marriage, and that's what she thought she was walking into when she married into this family. But now she's thinking back and wondering, was I duped? Did they bait and switch me? Did I imagine that this was a happy family that had it figured out and all together? Because that is not what is happening right now. And she's also really tired of being the Brown family scapegoat. All right, so this is what I want to talk about this for a minute. Her being the Brown family scapegoat, because we have, I think, like 2 things going on. We have us as the viewers who watch the show and what they show us and how it's edited. And I know that in social media, Robin is vilified. She gets blamed a lot for everything. And why is that? I mean, I know it's easy to dislike Robin because she's always so emotional and she's always crying and she's playing the victim and woe is me, but that doesn't mean that she should be blamed for all of the problems this family is having. I don't think. I mean, let's look at this critically now, okay? Because I want to be fair here. This is us as the viewers watching Cody say he doesn't have a favorite wife and he doesn't have a head wife, yet it kind of seems like you do, because when you're with Robin, you're patient and you're attentive and you have conversations and you're loving and you're affectionate and you're going on shopping sprees to Victoria's Secret. And what's going on with the other wives? Well, I feel like he's in a different place with Robin in his marriage than he is with the other wives. Now, granted, him and Robin have been together for 10 years, but still, in comparison to the 30 years he's been with, give or take a year with each wife, some 30 years, with Robin, it's newer, it's fresher, it's young, it's fun, it's exciting. He's got young kids, it's a young family he's raising. And with, Janelle and Christine, they're becoming grandparents. He's an old grandpa in that relationship. And don't get me wrong, that's not to say that people who've been married for 30 years can't have a sexy, exciting, still hot relationship. It takes work. And let's say him and Christine are in a rut. I think that's a good example. It seems like Cody is less pressed to work that out with her, because why? I'd rather just be over here with Robin where it's a lot more fun and I don't have to deal with it. And I just think that Cody never thought that Christine would leave, because Mary didn't leave. I think he thought he can just be in non-full marriages with some wives and they'll stick around and we can just kind of go about living how we've always lived. But no, Christine did leave and she's going to move on. But what she is saying, Robin, is that she's being blamed by the Browns, okay? Not like what us as the viewers are seeing, but something that's obviously going on within the family for real, and we don't see all of it. And the only thing I can sort of equate it to is, like, imagine you have parents and they get divorced, and now your dad has this new young wife and they're having kids and you're feeling left out or you're feeling replaced. And so what do you want to do? You want to blame the new wife because she's sort of the new person there and you don't have an emotional connection to her. You're already older. You still feel loyalty to your mom. And it's sort of, I think, like a displaced anger, or, you're deflecting away from your dad, who you love, who you feel loyalty to just like hate the new person, the new wife that's here. But it's more difficult because it's not a divorce. It's not like you can watch your mom move on and meet somebody, which I think is gonna happen with Christine eventually. I hope she meets somebody wonderful, and I hope her kids, especially the older ones who are married and know what it's like to be married, will be understanding. I mean, I'm sure it sucks to have your parents split up, but it's, I think, harder to watch a parent be so unhappy the way Christine has been. And I just think it's complicated in this plural family because you see your dad moving on with somebody and being really happy and having this new family, and you're feeling replaced, yet you see the way he treats your mom, who's there and is expected to stay there and just take it, and maybe that breeds some anger, and you're upset. And what can you do? I'm just gonna blame the new person. And is that fair? I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but I feel like ultimately what this all boils down to is I think that Robin gets the brunt of the blame and frustration, when really I feel like it should fall into Cody's lap, because Cody's the husband. Why are we mad at Robin because her husband treats her well and better than the others? Well, it's not fair. He should be treating all of his wives equally with love and kindness and all of those things. He's the one dropping the ball. He made the promises and the vows to all of the wives to be there as a husband, and he's not been. Why isn't he working it out with Mary? If she still loves him and she wants to be there and she's following the rules, has he given us a reason as to why he doesn't want to work it out and why he's just content to just only be a friend with her? It's I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but I feel like really we should be frustrated and we should really blame Cody for, if these wives are unhappy, I'm not saying it's all his fault. It takes two people in a marriage. And that's why I don't really feel comfortable getting into these marriages, because I don't really know what goes on between Cody and all of his wives and what really happened between him and Christine or him and Janelle. But is it fair to blame Robin because her husband is treating her the way he should be treating all of them? It's really him, I feel like, who's dropped the ball. And I don't know, is he just like oblivious to it and unaware of how, he must know how this comes across on the television screen. Is he unaware of how it's coming across to his kids and how it makes them feel to see him be so lovey-dovey with his new wife and not come around and want to spend time with the kids who've been there, with the moms who've been there? I don't know if I'm making sense, but I guess all this to say is that I do think Robin is the scapegoat. I do think she gets blamed a lot. But I do feel like Cody kind of left her there. Is he defending her the way he should? Not defending, but even like with these rules I talked about in my recap last week, like why isn't he having these conversations with the older kids about these rules? Why is he leaving it to the moms? Why is he letting the kids just sit there and assume that these are Robin's rules? Why isn't he going them and confronting the kids saying, hey, I hear you're blaming Robin. I hear you're calling her up, asking her to loosen the rules. These are my rules. If you got a problem with it, let's talk about it. But he doesn't. I feel like he just kind of hides, and he lets all the wives figure it out and do the dirty work. And I don't know. I think I'm rambling on, but I just think that I know Robin is not popular. I know she's not a fan favorite. And it's not like I'm sitting here saying she's my favorite person. I just want to be fair. And I do think that's true. She gets blamed a lot, and I don't know that it's fair. But that's just my opinion. You let me know what you think. But they're sitting there, and Mary's telling Robin, well, at least you're in the family, because I feel so on the outs. Nobody reaches out to me. Obviously, I don't have the kind of relationship with the kids that Christine does, and I just feel alone all the time. And Robin says that, well, she always feels so hopeful when she hears Cody say, oh, I got to call Mary. I got to go visit Mary. And Mary tells Robin, well, that's great if he actually called or came over. He doesn't, though. As a matter of fact, we did have a conversation, and he told me that friendship is what he can offer me. And Robin actually says, oh, well, that's an open door. I mean, that means there's hope. Is she serious? Is Robin seriously telling Mary that there's hope that Cody and Mary can like be back in a full marriage? Is she kidding? Like, she can't possibly think that. I'm so tired of this false hope. And Robin is saying, I tell Mary all the time when it comes to her relationship with Cody, it won't be what it was. It'll be something new. Yeah, that something new is called platonic friendship. Mary has been so friend zoned by Cody. I think Robin just needs to accept it, because I accepted it. So that was pretty much it for their talk. The whole Cody rules comes up again, and they're excited because they can get together to have a visit, but Mary wants to know why Robin didn't reach out to her sooner, especially knowing that I've been following these rules. I've been quarantining alone. And Robin says, well, yeah, Cody said I should reach out to you, but I told him he needed to talk to the other wives first to make sure they were okay with it so they wouldn't get the wrong idea, like we were letting you but not them. And Mary's just like, bullshit. I don't know if it was you, I don't know if it was Cody, but it shouldn't matter what anybody else thinks. And it's true, because then we get confessionals from Janelle and Christine saying that they assumed Robin and Mary were getting together just the way they were. And Christine says when she found out that they hadn't been getting together, Robin and Mary, she felt so bad for Mary, because she realized how alone and isolated Mary must have felt. So nobody would have cared if they had gotten together. I don't know where Robin gets that from. And if they did, and they called up Robin saying like, hey, I heard Mary went over, what's going on? Then well, Mary's quarantining by herself, and I feel like she's been really safe, and I feel comfortable with her coming over. And I would have been fine. And I don't know why Robin didn't just reach out to Mary and invite her over, because I do feel like they have a close relationship. I almost wonder if that was her sort of covering for Cody, because I feel like Cody doesn't really want Mary around, but he can't say that, and Robin doesn't want to put him on blast like that, so she's sort of taking the bullet saying like, no, it was me, like I didn't know how I was gonna look, so I didn't. And it's just whatever. Whatever. The point is that finally Mary gets to go over and visit Robin. She surprises the kids with the visit, and it was a really sweet moment. She's knocking on the door, and Solomon is like, can I answer it? Can I hug her? And Robin's like, yes, and they hug. And you can see Mary's very emotional. She's really happy to be there. She's like crying, because it's just when you've been alone and you've been isolated and by yourself, like sometimes you need a hug, especially from like a little kid who just like loves you and doesn't judge you, and it's just like, oh, it's like what she needed. And they're just catching up and hanging out, and it was really nice, and it's like how it should have been all along. But hey, better late than ever, I guess. All right, let's finish this up. So at the end, we just see everybody celebrating Thanksgiving separately. It turns out that Janelle and Christine weren't able to get together, but they're both in Utah. Janelle is celebrating with her sister. We don't ever see her sister. I think maybe the sister just didn't want to be on the show, and they're having a nice time. Christine's also with McKelty and her whole family, and she says it's just so wonderful and lovely to be away from everything, and she could stay here forever. Not really, just kidding, but she's kidding, not kidding, because she'll get there eventually. And then you have Cody and Mary and Robin, and it's interesting because Cody says that, you know, Mary decided to come spend Thanksgiving with me, Robin, and our kids, when it's always Janelle's boys and Christine's kids. Well, he claims Robin's kids as his own. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. Cody just says it's a really quiet Thanksgiving compared to the Thanksgivings of the past. Mary says that she always cooked the turkey. I think Janelle would bring the pies. Christina would do rolls, and Robin would do a relish plate. But this year, Robin asks Mary if she could do the turkey. Robin wants to cook the turkey, and Mary says, yeah, that's fine. It's like, it's your house. But it feels so odd to her because she always does the turkey. She doesn't really know what to do with herself. So there's this little bit where she pretends to bring a turkey, and she tells Robin, I'm so sorry, I hope you don't mind, like I just had to make a turkey. And Robin and Cody are like, okay. They're kind of at first a little bothered by it, but they're just trying to be cool until Mary reveals that it's actually a Rice Krispie treat in the shape of a turkey with candy stuffing, because you know Cody loves Mary's Rice Krispie treats. It's like the only thing she has to offer him now. And I forgot to mention, she was saying when she was talking to Robin that it's strange for her. She's in a weird place because she's technically a sister wife, and she's not in a full marriage with Cody, but technically he's her husband. And I'm thinking, no, I think you got a little twisted, Mary. Technically, he is not your husband. I mean, if you want to call him your husband, that's fine. I don't care. Call him your husband. Had you still been married to him and not divorced him, and you're not in a full marriage, then he would technically still be your husband. But I don't know why I was just like, what's she talking about? Anyway, she reveals the Rice Krispie treat turkey, and everybody gets a good laugh. It's a funny gag, and Cody says it would have been great if everybody would have been there like the old times. They all would have loved it, but it is what it is. I think Christine said that she did call Cody to check in with him so they could FaceTime. Janelle says she was having such a good time, it didn't even cross her mind to call Cody. So what does that tell you? And Cody's sitting in there at the table just reflecting how he's with the people he loves, and he's telling in his confessional that he just sees now who's loyal to him and who really respects him, because how you love a man is how you respect him, or something stupid like that. And Janelle says respect and loyalty is a two-way street. It's not just a one-way stream to one person, and you treat people how you want to be treated. And yeah, Cody just says, he sums it up with saying, this is really hard. It's really difficult what they're going through, and it's not easy, but if you want an easy life, then be in a monogamous relationship. And yeah, I think I'll take your advice on that one, Cody. So that was the episode. What did you guys think? I think I got a little rambly with the whole Cody Robin scapegoat thing. I think I said all that I need to say. You let me know what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.